So good morning, everybody. This is Marie Fertoni wiggling around here, and I'm the CEO of Get Clients Everywhere and the leader of the Women's Professional Development Network. And I want to welcome everybody to this episode of our Share Your Shine interview. And this time I have the amazing, fabulous master of self-care, Sherri Danzig, who is the owner of Choosing Vibrancy. Welcome, Sherri.
Thank you, Marie. Good to be with you.
We're going to have some fun here. Just so everybody knows, this is something that I do with all of our WPDN members, and I actually take the time to actually put the spotlight on them, and they can actually shine brightly, so you can really see who they are and what they're up to in the world and the difference that they make in the world. And Sherri and I are also personal friends. We just kind of get into giggle fits together, have a good time, and as she is a wellness consultant and wellness expert, laughing is good for the soul. Laughing is good for everything. So just going to share with you a little bit about who Sherri is, what she's all about, and then we're going to dive in and have a fun conversation about self-care is our superpower. I love that. So Sherri is the owner and the CEO of Choosing Vibrancy. She's a master in the wellness industry, very successful, very accomplished. She's been a wellness entrepreneur for 30 years, so she kind of knows her stuff and she walks her talk. She is also a wellness consultant who helps her clients, and pardon me while I just read this, from exhaustion and overwhelm to vibrancy, which is a great thing. And I think, a little ad hoc here in the conversations I have with people, my clients, there's a lot of people today. The word I've been using is malaise.
Mhm.
It's like they're tired, they're, um, just worried about things, upset about things. And, so the timing for you to really like step up and get out here, I think is really a gift to bring to the world. She provides natural solutions for wellness and well being and helps people to come into balance. And so that abundance can show up when it's in that space for that. She's been married to the same wonderful man, Ira, for 40 years, and she's the proud mama of three amazing daughters. And I think that's just really particularly phenomenal because that's not an easy thing to do in this day and age. But
Nope.
because of her expertise, I'm sure all of that plays into how great her life is. So we're going to talk about here self-care is our superpower, and I love that because many times, especially most of our audience here is women, right?
Yep.
We kind of tend to put other people back. That is a conversation that's out in the ethers. But why do you say self-care is our superpower? What is it that you mean by that, Sherri?
What I mean is that I think there's so much of a focus on these days on, perfection and looking good. There's so much of looking at other people's lives and comparing ourselves to other people, and that trying to keep up with the fact that we know so much. I mean, I think social media has done that to us, that there's such a focus on external looking good, the polished and all of that. And I mean, I see it, quite frankly, I see it when what people value when you know how they spend their money. And this is true. Women will spend more money on makeup and clothes and things that make them feel good, which is, not unimportant. I mean, I go shopping plenty myself, but not necessarily spend as much, have more hesitancy when it comes to personal growth or something that is going to be with the, wellness, like improving their sleep, So I see that a lot. And so the whole idea of self-care being your superpower is that it's really about fueling the internal success.
Mm.
And you asked a question on the gathering, the WPDN question opener a couple of days ago was about how do you define success? And there's lots of ways to define it, but I am really in this space of it's about your own internal home base of knowing who you are and having such a strong sense of self, such a strong sense of of how you talk to yourself and how you feel about yourself, because regardless of all of the chaos that is in the world, we can't do anything about that, or in our smaller worlds, could be the dramas that we experience from family and our business, whatever it is, if our self-care, if our sense of priority is so strong, and that we're pouring in an equal amount, then we really are poised to do everything we want to do. I mean, it's like we can manage all of that chaos. We can't we can't stop it necessarily, but we don't lose ourselves in that. And I think that's a big part of what I see with the women I'm working with. And I recognized it in myself from so long ago. Culturally, we get caught up in it's a very early conditioning. I mean, they've done studies with little girls in grade school compared to little boys in grade school. And somehow we get taught this about we're the ones that are supposed to please, we're the ones that are supposed to do, we're the nurturers, we're the all of that. And we're good at it. We're good at juggling so much. And it gets to be so much that we're juggling that it's easy to forget about who we are. So that's really why I think it's so important.
I love you said something that was really great, and I'm trying to recall it because I thought, oh, that would be a great article to write, or something. You said something about that self-care. You used the word fuels or fueled, like
Mhm.
self-care fuels everything else or something. And I just love the phrase that you used. And I thought that'd be when we listen back to the tape, you might want to write that down because it just could be like a great name of an article or a
Mhm.
Facebook
Mhm.
Live or a webinar
Mhm.
title or something because
Okay.
I just think it said it really so beautifully. And I think, you also said something about, like self-care is an inside job, and it's like this is the home-based business. Many of us work in a home base. This
Right.
is our home base.
Yeah.
So I thought
Yeah.
that was really clever the way you said that. So, we always talk about this thing that's called work-life balance. And, I, you know, I have a lot of thoughts about that.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if there is such a thing as work-life balance. This is just a question.
Yeah.
Um, our philosophical moment here on your Share Your Shine interview. But is there a work-life balance or is everything always out of balance and we always have to put it in order to have it? Do you have any
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think balance is a construct we can work towards. I think we have moments where we feel things are balanced.
Yeah.
I think to really imagine that we're going to have this perfect balance in what we're doing work-wise and personal life is somewhat, it's like saying, we have this perfect life. It's not perfect and it's not going to be balanced. And I think sometimes we get way out of balance in one direction or another for a period of time. And I think it works okay if we have an agreement with ourselves. So I think that it's a good thing to strive for, to have more balance, so that, and I know I do that myself. I've been an entrepreneur for so long. I was having a conversation with my daughter who could not ever imagine being an entrepreneur. She likes the security of a paycheck, right? So we've talked about that. But I was telling her about my day. I was driving to a chiropractic appointment. It was yesterday. And I was saying I was going to probably not get home from working until after 8. I said, but it's okay because in the middle of the day I'm going to take care of myself with a chiropractor. And so I know I'm always doing kind of the math. Like if I have something going on that night that is work related, or I know I'm going to be working some on Saturday, over the weekend, I make sure that I have places in my day where I'm doing something that is fun. I might like work out and be binging a show and then stay and watch another episode. I'm working that out. So it's a work in progress. What I will tell you that I think does definitely need balancing is that we have to pour a lot of, and we have to be intentional about this, about consistently doing things that promote our positive sense of self, affirmations, and I love I am statements. I have all these tools that I like to teach about that we have to be very intentional about the self-talk that is super positive, because undoubtedly there's also the negative, monkey mind that plagues us all. I mean, we all get these in these loops of something that we're worried about, and
Yeah.
that can go on and on and on. And so, there's some crazy number of how many thoughts we have in one day. So I think we have to be intentional about balancing. That's a place to balance.
I think, I would agree with everything that you said. So taking that a step further in terms of the gifts that you bring to the world, tell our audience here, like, who is the ideal client that you love to work with? What is it that, who are they? And what are the things that you can do for them that, I mean, I know because I've enjoyed many of the services that you provide, but who do you want to work with? I mean, who's like an optimal client for you?
It's somebody who's kind of in their, career. They're women in their 40s and beyond. I have had a few clients that were younger, but mostly it's women who they're juggling. So they've had a certain amount of success, however they define it, in their careers, in their lives. And so they're women who have got a lot on their plate. And so they're busy in this whole idea of juggling work and personal life, and they're not feeling successful really down deep. They're feeling less appreciated. Oftentimes they're exhausted. They're feeling overwhelmed. They wake up and they already have their mind is already running. Those are clients that I think I have a lot of tools that I can offer that can help them to basically find themselves again. So I love working with women who, whether they have children at home or not, because that empty nester, piece is a whole nother stage of life. So it's women who are at a place where they know that they want something more. They don't know exactly what it is. A lot of times they're not really sure what it is they want, and they certainly don't know how to get there because they feel a bit stuck in the fact that they've been on this, I call it a hamster wheel, right? They're moving things, they're making things happen. So they're in that, going, going, going. And usually when I talk to these women and I talk to them about self-care, it's the first place I start. They have a very small, vision of a definition of what self-care really is.
That's actually really important because I was going to say, given what you were talking about, that anybody could fit into those categories. I mean, today, unless somebody's living under a rock, I don't know anybody that's not busy, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, it's like I know that as a self-care and a wellness consultant that you have certain tools and information and products and processes that can really help people. And I think that's what I'd love to have you share a little bit about how you work with those issues of the hamster wheel and
Yeah.
what you bring to the party.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's that external success meter that most women are judging themselves about how busy they are. Busy feels important, busy feels right. And so there's that sense of, okay, I'm doing all the things, I'm checking all the boxes. And so, I don't, and busy to me is a real setup of a word, because that busy is not being connected to oneself. So, I think there's a lot of different directions that I come at this. My course that I'm teaching is 3 parts. So it starts with clarity. There's 3 C's, and clarity is a big one. Clarity is when we start focusing on really looking at what you value, what your core values are. Um, Having a mission statement. A lot of women have created a mission statement, in some workshop, put it in a drawer and forgot about it. They don't really know what it is. So they're not really using it as a tool. And having a mission statement is a wonderful tool to make decisions about what do you spend your time with,
Yeah.
based on, is it moving you forward or taking you away from what is your true purpose in life? It's looking at your self-talk and getting much more conscious, much more clear about what we're telling ourselves. It's looking at what are we tolerating in our lives. That's a big topic in itself. So it's focused on these different ways to kind of unravel and get much more clarity about who you are. And a lot of times it's you're being reintroduced to yourself, and learning how to listen to yourself, learning how to pay attention to the signs of paying attention to yourself. And I know, I have a background as being a massage therapist. That's what got me into the wellness world over 30 years ago. And that's a lot about listening to your body. And our bodies don't lie. Our minds can tell us all sorts of stories. And it takes some getting used to, of paying attention to that awareness of what's going on in your body. So that's a thing in itself. And the next step is about courage. That's the second C. And it takes courage to get clear on who you are and then step into that truth, because there's gonna be some things that you haven't been living from that place, that now all of a sudden you have this new information. It's also about looking at the relationships in your life, because there are people that, if you've been doing things a certain way and you've been a people pleaser and a people doer, then the people that you've been pleasing and doing are not going to be so happy, that all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, who are you and what changed? So again, that's there's some inventory to that. There's some conversations about that. And it takes courage to go through all of that. So it's like kind of building that muscle of supporting yourself. And then the last piece of it is where I'm very much about hands-on. I was a teacher in my first career, and I believe in real practical, giving people homework. And because if you don't practice things, it's just a theory, and theories don't cut it. Theories don't make big changes, that the changes that you want to show up. So it's really about practical skills. It's about figuring out how to outsmart our mechanisms that have been on, habit, on automation of those habits that we want to change. So it's about focusing on creating affirmations and different tools to support this new sense of self. So lots of things in the toolbox for that. It's some at some point we're talking about the practical things of how you're really physically taking care of yourself. And I've talked about sleep before at WPDN. I have a talk about sleep. I have my own story about sleep, and I think sleep and how we feel about ourselves and our self-care are very closely aligned. I used to call myself, I thought I was tricking sleep. And I really think we have all these skills, or all these adaptions that we figure out how to get away with, or how to do so many things, right? So, but we think we're playing this game, but really we're the ones that are left holding the bag. And if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're choosing to get things done over getting sleep, then it catches up with you, and it has a huge impact on your health, on your ability to think, on how creative you are, and I think your self-esteem.
That is really very true. And I love that you say, if you're sacrificing your sleep because you've got to get stuff done. And, I mean, I've certainly been there, especially lately.
Yeah.
I put my self-imposed deadlines on, and, we're trying to make some things happen here. I think one of the things that in your program that you're doing, your program is a group program. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And
I
it's
I
gonna be
do one-on-one mentoring as well. This
okay.
is but this is a new thing, and I'm excited about it to offer this as a group, because I think we learn so much from each other as a group, and I think there's a lot that can create some dynamics of bouncing off different ideas and experiences.
Yeah, and as a group program, that's going to be something that's ongoing. they can do
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's good. So they can, check in with you. What is the best way for people who are listening, if they get a sense of who Sherri Danzig is and choosing vibrancy and they want to choose some vibrancy, how do they reach you? What's the best way for them to contact you?
Probably my phone number to call or text, or my email. You want me to rattle that off or just put
Sure.
that in? So yeah, 404-431-1682 is my number. And text is kind of king, so I can always check text messages when I'm on a million webinars. Or my email is my name, so it's Sherri@sherridanzig.com.
That's great. And your website is choosingvibrancy.com,
It
correct?
is. It is.
Very
Yep.
good. So we invite people to go to the website, learn about Sherri, see who she is, see what she's got on her website, um, and really kind of take a look at what's the possibility of working with her if you were choosing vibrancy for yourself. One of the things, some people don't know this, but because I have kind of a snarky sense of humor, Sherri was doing these things with, like, she was just posting jokes, and just funny things. That was kind of her thing in terms of bringing people in, because who doesn't like a good joke? But that's a great thing to be able to add humor and lightness and to shift
Mhm.
up the energy of all of this. That's a positivity thing where I would say, gravity is here and gravity is heavy, and we always are doing, in the wonderful show Wicked, they do a whole thing on defying gravity.
Yep. Yep.
So it's really a good thing. Vibrancy is a great thing. And um you know we could talk a long time with Sherri, and she could tell you a lot about the successes that she's had in her life, the products that she represents, the services that she represents, the body of knowledge that she has really worked with and has um, just, what's the word I want? Just absorbed in her life. And now she's at a place to really give that away. So, this is just terrific. Before we leave, before we zip this interview up,
Mhm.
is there anything that maybe we haven't covered today that you'd like to add that would be an important thing for people to reach out to you?
Um, Gosh, I've loved this conversation. It's been vibrant. You know, a couple of things. I will say that I rebranded a few years ago and uh, came up with this name, Choosing Vibrancy, because I love the word vibrant. I
Mm,
looked it up in the dictionary. It was like perfect. I mean, I love color. And I think, I believe that having a colorful life is one that is, well, I have this saying that's being perfectly imperfect. So, it's about self-expression. What colors do you love? What lights you up? So and I love color. I mean, it's all over my house. And I do believe we can choose. And I know I've had people, sometimes debate that, like, well, there's people that have all sorts of heavy things. I think we can always choose. I think there's light. I always think there's light at the end of the tunnel. I'm an internal optimist. And one thing I'll say too about, telling the jokes and so forth, because I started that during the beginning of COVID. I made a pact that I was going to get on Facebook Live every day and tell a joke. And not that I made them up. None of them were original. Um, I'm still looking for jokes, so you can send me jokes. The reason I am such a believer, I love to laugh myself. That's like, to me, what defines complete joy. Um, and here's the thing, and this is one of the things I teach is about using your smile. You cannot smile, and I don't mean like a fake smile because we can all do that, right? But a genuine smile and certainly a laugh. At the same time, you can't hold a negative thought or a sense of failure, a sense of worry. They can't exist in the same moment. So the more we can have those outlets of smiling and laughter, it lightens us up and it reminds us to check in with inside. Because the things that make us that are heavy, that have us worried and so forth, in the big scheme of things, a lot of times they're just not that important. We're I think as women we get wired for drama. And I think that's an old pattern also of feeling like that drama is a way that we find importance. And I know I was like that for a long time. And, I'm all about a drama-free life. I don't want it. It's heavy. Not to say there's not some, and I like a good drama on TV, right? But I'm such a believer in using laughter. So it's always going to be a part of what the things I share.
Well, I love that, and I love laughing with you, so that's always a fun thing to do. Sherry, thank you. So again, I just want to invite our listeners to connect with Sherry on Facebook. You are on LinkedIn as well, yes?
I am.
Is it under your name?
It's choosing vibrancy.
That's okay,
Pretty
great.
much everything in on social media platforms is choosing vibrancy.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know. So reach out to her on LinkedIn, reach out to her on social media on Facebook. You've got choosingvibrancy.com is her website. Please go visit that and reach out to her. She gave you her phone number and her email address. Sherry, thank you. Always really great. It's wonderful to share the shine and have you share your shine with our audience, put the spotlight on you. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Marie. It was fun. I knew it would be.
Okay.